Hey, welcome to Talking Zed, everybody. It's Friday. Thank you so much for joining us here on Talking Zed in the Zoom, making my pandemic and yours hopefully a little bit better. We've been away for a while. I've missed you guys. I hope you're all doing well. Today is Friday, September 11th, and we've done this show. Well, we've done every show during the pandemic. We've done this show during riots in LA. We've done this show during a curfew, a state-mandated curfew, and now it seems like all of California is on fire. We're not on fire here in Burbank, but sure is smoky, so I got to apologize for the eyes. This one right here is nice and puffy. I promise you, I am awake and ready for the show. One thing I got to say about September 11th, I mean, there's not much more that can be said about that, except for this. I was living in Manhattan, or right outside of Manhattan in New Jersey on September 11th, working on my first movie. It was a Tuesday on September 11th, and that's when the whole world changed. At the time, we felt like things would never get back to normal, and suddenly it's 19 years ago, and it's history. And I have kids, my own kids, who live with that as something that happened in the far distant past. So we'll get through this pandemic, and well, at least the next hour. That's right. Hey, I've got a great guest today. One of the perks of doing this show is I get to reunite with folks that I was friends with on set. He is a co-executive producer of the show. He was on for all 5 seasons, so he knows where all the bodies are buried. Here it is. It's Steve Graham. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Peter, how's it going?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us.
Most of the bodies we buried on screen, so it's okay.
All right.
I know where everything is.
How have you been, my friend? What's going on with you in the pandemic? How are you surviving? Tell me everything.
Well, like everybody else, seems normal, and then horrible jags of existential dread.
Yeah.
But it's not a whole lot different from normal life. It's actually, I'm very lucky. It's been great. I have 2 kids, and my wife have been here since March. And actually, my brother and sister-in-law quarantined with us for the first few months, and we baked a lot of sourdough bread and cooked through a lot of recipes we've been meaning to do, and I maybe have picked up a habit or 2.
Right on. And you actually are not in the LA area. What part of the country are you zooming in from?
I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I grew up in southern New Mexico and moved back here a couple of years ago. I still have a production company in Los Angeles, and still work out of LA and work out of New Mexico as well. So there's a ton of production in New Mexico. Well, there was pre-COVID, and
Sure.
Supposedly they're lined up like planes at LAX, ready to come back in as soon as we open up.
Fantastic. Hey, I said I've been off. We've been out for a couple weeks, and I'm got myself a little rusty. I have one other housekeeping thing that I need to do. Folks, this is a live show. We're live right now. Anything can happen. And if you are online with us and have a question for Steve or myself, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You just click on that and write a question. If you write a good question, we might even ask it on air. And if someone else writes a question and you say, hey, that's a question I should have asked, just give it an old thumbs up like that, bam, and it'll pop it up to the top of the screen, and I can see if it's something to ask. So you're in New Mexico. You were working in LA. You work back and forth. Tell me your origin story in TV and film. How did you get started? What was the thing? Was it something that was a desire of yours from the beginning? Give me
the short of it is, made movies with my brothers as kids, and always kind of wanted to do that. Went to school for journalism, and moved to LA ostensibly to make movies with my friends. I got a job there as I moved there with the Screen Actors Guild, and actually worked with the Guild for 10 years. And so during that time wrote some, and made a couple of shorts, but didn't work in film. And then, other than in Screen Actors Guild, and then got out of that and started working with my friend whom I met at the Guild, Paul Bales, at the Asylum, and started a production company with Jody Binstock, whom I think you had on last show. And so we made a few features, and she did Web Therapy, which is a Lisa Kudrow show, and I had helped her with that. we also did industrials and some other, other things. And all the time, writing and planning stuff, and was very fortunate to kind of talk our way into Z Nation. I think Jody told part of that story, but the gist of it is that we were at Asylum, and Jody had the web therapy. She and I had just come off of that TV show. We heard that they were going to get a TV show with Sci-Fi, and Carl Schaefer had come in, one of the showrunner candidates, and had a really good meeting. We could tell because we were like listening at the door with the execs. And we followed him out to the parking lot and said, "Oh, so did they say who's going to produce that for you? Who's going to do that?" And he's like, "No, I think they just give us whoever they have." And we were like, "That's us. It's very nice to meet you." And then we came back in, we walked into the exec and said, "Hey, we heard you had a great meeting. Carl wants us to produce it." And, wasn't quite that easy, but that was it kind of worked.
Well, I'm super interested in your connection to Asylum, because they were one of the people on the show. And looking at your background, I noticed that you'd worked on a couple of titles that were of note. And one of them was 2010 Moby Dick, the classic. And you were an EPK producer on that. You did the making of that. And I wanted to show that trailer real quickly. John, if you could show, this is 2010 Moby Dick.
Eyewitnesses' reports say that all were attacked by an enormous whale.
And that would make it 400 feet?
You cannot have a sub-commander off the reservation with a boatload full of nukes.
I've seen it with my own eyes. Took my leg in '69.
You're gonna take revenge on an animal.
I'd strike the sun if it insulted me.
Ready for a ride?
50 meters!
Firing! Abandon ship!
Oh, he's not a whale. He's the devil himself.
So, I wanted to show that for a couple reasons. I wasn't sure how to show it or not. Who was the DP of that? Who happened to be the DP of that? Do you remember?
Oh, perhaps Alex Yellen would be my guess.
And the other thing too that I love about these type of movies, how fast were you? I mean, I kind of know. I know how fast. We've talked about it on the show. But how does that, working on a movie like that, which I'm assuming it was a 12-day, very tight schedule.
I don't remember, but yeah, it was very tight.
How does that prepare you for what you were doing when you went to Z on those five seasons?
Oh, well, it entirely prepares you for it, because that's exactly the way Asylum approached the first season of Z Nation. We talked to them about television and kind of differences between how you do episodic versus features, and they said, "We're not worried about it. Know how to do a feature in 12 days. We're just going to do 10 of those. We're just going to do 10 features, and it's and they're half as long. So how hard could it be?" And they were sort of right. I mean, I thought that was we didn't know really what we had gotten ourselves into, but I felt totally prepared based on our experience working on those. I did, full disclosure, I only did EPK on that, so I was only there for a few days. I sort of hovered around the production, but I didn't do any of the hard work. They were putting in 12 and 14-hour days, and they were out on ships, and I met them in Long Beach or Santa Monica, and set up on the beach with an interview rig. So, but Barry Bostwick is the bomb. He owned that role. He went for it. all out. And actually the script was pretty good. It was Paul Bales wrote that script, one of the principals there for Asylum. And it was, he's a Melville fan, and it was a faithful reproduction, and Barry Bostwick freaking owned it.
Yeah.
And the great story there, there's a scene, and now I can't remember if they just showed that, but there's a scene where he's standing in a Zodiac, one of those inflatable boats, and he has this giant harpoon gun, and he's, you talk about Tom Cruise doing his own stunts, but Barry Bostwick is a badass. And so he's standing up in the Zodiac and going over the waves like this and holding this harpoon gun. And what you don't know is he built that harpoon gun. So the props department brought him this harpoon gun and said, "Here, Mr. Bostwick, here's your thing." And he was like, "Yeah, this is okay. This is fine." He goes home over the weekend and buys a bunch of toys and spray paints them and comes back with this monster harpoon gun. So he was very into it. And I remember talking to him about it in the interview, and he took a very Shakespearean approach to it. He said, this is a classic, and I'm going to do it justice. So I was really impressed with him.
And Steve, you said that you didn't do much. You're the EPK guy. You kind of show up and set up. But you soon jumped in and did some project where I'm going to assume, because of the title, you were doing the 12 and 14-hour days with the rest of the guys. I saw you had a credit on there for location manager, and you were a line producer on a movie called The Haunting of Whaley House.
Yeah, that was actually my first producing gig. And thank you to the Asylum. They were very kind to give someone who thought he knew what he was doing. And turns out, you learn as you go. But yeah, it was Jose Prendez directed and wrote that. And it was a very tightly contained, horror ghost type of film that was set in the historic Whaley House, which is in San Diego. We actually shot in a historic house in Long Beach. So we shot the whole thing in one place. And yeah, I think it was 12 days, might have been 11. We were working nights and with just a skeleton crew, and but everybody really dedicated to it, and it was fun. I've had two of these experiences where on Whaley House everything was falling apart. We were shooting at night. We had rented these big lights for one night because that's all we could afford. And it was a big, exterior night scene where we had to light up the backyard there. And it was raining, and it looked like we only had a couple of minutes to do the thing. And then the generator went out. And it's an old house. We couldn't use house power. We had to use a generator. Turns out one of our PAs had filled the generator. I shouldn't say this because we never actually told the rental house, had filled it with gasoline instead of diesel. And so it died, and all of our lights died, and we weren't going to make the day, and everybody's freaking out. And the DP, oh man, I'll have to look up his name. Alex is his first name. He was a car guy, and he was like, "I'll help you out. Don't worry about it." And we drained the generator. It took us about 2 hours to drain the generator, put the new stuff in, and get it all started. But the whole world was collapsing around me, and all these people were saying, "What do I do? What are we going to do?" And the rain's coming down, and the lights had gone out, and I was like, "This is right where I'm supposed to be."
Oh.
And I don't know why. I don't know why the chaos triggered that in me, but that's what allows you to get through shows like that and shows like Z Nation, to be honest.
Steve, that's an awesome story. I wonder, for folks at home who don't know, what is the role of a line producer? If we're talking about executive producers, a line producer, what does that mean? And also, how does Asylum, I think they're kind of unique in some of the ways they use a line producer.
Yeah, I think it's a broader category for the Asylum, but in general, the line producer is the manager. He manages, or she manages the budget. Alex Vindler, by the way, was the DP on that. But they manage the budget. They're responsible for making decisions on what gets spent and what doesn't get spent. Make all the contracts. You're the lawyer and the toilet plunger, because the toilets always clog up on location. And yeah, so you're doing all of the pieces. So The executive producers and associate producers are at Asylum headquarters, and the line producer is the poor sap on set, making sure all of that stuff happens.
Steve, you're describing the magic of Hollywood right there. The stuff making it happen, right? It's all hammer and red carpets, right, my friend?
It is, and with a plunger in your back pocket.
That's so great. Well, I have the trailer for Haunting of Whaley House, and I thought maybe we'd reminisce and watch the Haunting of Whaley.
Wales and now Whaley. It all works.
When I first started working here, my predecessor gave me 3 rules to live by. Don't call the ghosts out, they hate that. Don't damage the house, they're very territorial. Never, never go inside the house at night.
Just stop it, okay?
Oh my God!
Please leave me alone!
Let's talk about Haunting of Whaley House, and you know what that meant to you. You said it's the first time that they've sort of given you the keys, everything wrong, and how did that set you up for the next thing I'm going to talk about? Is you're working with Jody Vinstock. Did you guys Asylum, or how did you guys connect?
What I learned on Whaley House was exactly applicable to what we were doing on Z Nation. So about the same time, I was doing marketing for Asylum, and then taking pretty much any other gig on their shows that I could do. Just kind of learning the ropes. I actually, my first gig was back in 90 something on a show called Force on Force in the camera department. My brother was in the camera department. I learned early on I didn't want to be in the camera department. I was a loader and then an assistant, and on a few shows in Reno, and decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. So producing, that when I had that moment, went, oh, this is what I want to do. While I was doing stuff at the Asylum, Jody and I had met through our kids. They were in a play group together. So she's a neighbor of mine. I used to be in North Hollywood there. And so we were working on other projects together, and trying to get projects made. And so I introduced her to them, and I think she directed a Christmas film for them. And then we produced another one together. It was called Mother. I think that was it had several titles, a Daryl Hannah movie. And then, so all of those things kind of dovetail, from one to another. So the experience gained on one was directly applicable to the next, which, I have to say, I was very green going into it, and very green. The first season of Z Nation, we learned a lot. And, I think everybody at some point has a little bit of trial by fire.
Sure.
But Jody and I worked well together, and we found that we both had families at the time, still do, but had young kids at the time, and realized that these kinds of things take over your life. And Chris Ray is a good example. When we were working on Battle of Los Angeles, we went out to this old mine, this old copper, big mining place. It was a company town that had been abandoned, and we all lived in these little, barracks basically. Mm. And so if you had a family, you were away from them even though they're short shoots, you're away for a month or longer. And it was really a blessing to be able to share those duties with Jody. She and I found that we could produce together. And then on Z Nation, we split our time. We were, one of us was always in the office and the other was out on set. And so sometimes we were able to be with our families in Los Angeles while the other was on set in Spokane. So it was very fortuitous.
Well, you set me up really well, because we were joking before the show about a show that you and Jody produced right before Z Nation called Zoocosis. And I was telling you that, I don't do many drugs, but now the trailer, I feel like I've done a lot. And, but actually, just as a filmmaker and a creative, I was really kind of interested in what was the intent of this show, what happened with it. And it feels like it was the year before Z started. That's what it looks like, IMDb, and I know IMDb can be.
That sounds right.
But John, this is the trailer for Zoocosis. John, if you would roll that now, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this show.
I'm a trained psychiatrist, but I've never seen cases like these. Terror. Absurdity. Passion. This is a strange world we've found ourselves in. Are you feeling caged and confused? Giddy and panicked? Relax. You're not alone anymore.
Steve Grant, when was the last time you did a deep dive and watched that trailer, my friend? That is so...
Wow. I love that show. Why aren't we doing that show?
What was this show all about? What happened to it? Certainly there are some weird things in the tone there that I could say maybe applied to Z.
Yeah, actually, that was all from the brain of Patrick Scott, who is a filmmaker and a professor at LMU, or he used to be. I assume he still is. And he had teamed up with a couple of producers, Nick Bellis and Ryan, whose last name I'm forgetting at the moment, but Nick and Ryan. And he had a couple of viral hits. It was the early days of, I mean, viral wasn't even really a thing at the time. And he had done a couple of shorts that were weird and musical and really, sexual and really broke out, and they were cool, and found a little money to do these. And it was right when machinima was a big deal. So initially people used, what is the gaming engine? Used a gaming engine to do animation, and they would do voiceover on top of that, and they called it machinima. And they had a huge following, and they broke it out as a separate channel and started funding shows. And so he was one of their, I think, one of the first shows that they did on Machinima Prime. So we had a little bit of a budget and got to shoot in LA. It's still very short. I can't remember how many days it was, but it's half dozen or so stories that were, brides fighting crustaceans and world domination, and pregnant ladies making out on the front lawn, and just all sorts of. It was really fun. It was really great, and I learned where you spend your money sometimes. Like we rented a warehouse there in downtown LA, and did not get air conditioning, and it was in the middle of the summer, and I learned that we should have paid for air conditioning because we were all horribly miserable. And it was actually, we had shipped in crawfish from Louisiana, live crawfish from. Did you know you can order live crawfish and they'll mail them to you, and they're still. So we had them delivered to this warehouse, and it's 120 degrees inside of there, and we're trying to film, and it's just after about an hour, everybody's sick to their stomachs, and she's supposed to be eating them, and it was, yeah, air conditioning is a good thing, so we should have done that.
Well, hey, thank you so much for letting me play that, because Jody was on last week. She got web therapy with Lisa Kudrow and all those, and I was like, I gotta find something that they worked on together, so. I
love that show. I'm going to have to reconnect with those guys. It was ahead of its time. It was really fun.
Well, that's what we try to do here, make the connections and reconnect. So, all right. So let's get into it. You're on the show because you did 5 seasons of Z Nation. And we have a few fans that have already kind of chipped in with a couple questions.
Cool.
First one, I think, is one of our super fans, and she's just asked, do you miss making the show?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was so much fun. It was, yeah, it It's funny. I got a text from Mark Dahlstrom, who's the production supervisor in UPM there in Spokane, and a close friend and ally of Jody and mine. And it was in April, and he was like, just about now we'd be scouting. And I was like, yeah. It just becomes part of your, we did it every summer for 5 years, and the first year was pretty hard.
Well, so let's set us up a little bit, Steve. We're going to go back to the beginning. You kind of told us, and Jody as well, how you met with Carl, and you guys were working at Asylum. Said, "Hey, we're the TV folks. We can work with you." Now you're in Spokane, Washington, where the show was shot, and you're getting ready for season 1. And what was the energy like? What do you remember from those early days? You worked on all 5 seasons. Has it become a blur, or is it each one have a distinct sort of place in your heart and memory because you kind of go and leave?
That's a good question. I would say there's definitely some blur there, just because we were working so fast, and I'm a man of a certain age, so things kind of naturally blur anyway. But yeah, the first season was really sweet. It was all of us getting to know each other, and getting the show on its feet and finding our voice, and so yeah, and the whole experience of it. Carl ran a great show, and we wrote it. The intention was to have it completely written before we got up there, and he got pretty close to that, and had involved John Hyams, who was a big architect of those first couple of seasons. So we had done some scouting with Carl, and then we went up with John, and we weren't really sure how we were going to manage the extras and the background performers, and the zombies, and worked with a great makeup effects team. I don't know if we worked with 2 different teams over the 5 years. They'd be great to have on because they have great stories and they're super interesting.
Corinne and Josh are going to be one of our guests. We've just been they're unfortunately up in California dealing with the fires at the moment. So
yeah, and that you should have them on with Keith or one of those guys, and they start with the stories. It's great. Yeah. But we weren't really sure how we were going to handle the zombies. We had worked with Corinne and Josh at Asylum, or Asylum had worked with them a lot. So we weren't worried about the makeup, but we were kind of worried about how we were going to manage that many people. And so we did it seems John was there. I think Jody was there. But we did zombie auditions, and it was something that we carried on over, a couple of seasons where we get a fresh crop of zombies every season.
Well, the thing that I'm really excited about, we're going to show a clip. This is from the DVD release of season 1 with the Zombie Extra School. We had a lot of the zombie background actors who were through the season.
Oh, right.
Jeremy Jackson. We did a whole entire episode with just the zombies, and the amount of time that they put into making this show happen, and the amount of energy. And I've said this before on the show. I'll say it to you as well. It was a low budget show, but at the end of the day, you could tell that the people who put it together cared. And I think that's what comes through when people really catch on to this show. There was love, and there was care put into the final product, and I think it's baked into the cake, if you will.
I appreciate that. I feel the same way. There's no way we could have made the show without the heart and people caring about it the way they did. And it's really extraordinary. People talk about, it was a family, but it really was. A lot of those guys are my closest friends now, and just feel very privileged to have worked with everybody on the show. It's really great.
Awesome. Well, that's a great setup, John. Let's roll the clip. This is a zombie casting from season 1.
Casting for the zombies was crazy. People don't just want to be zombies, they need to be zombies. When we had an open call for extras, like the first week we got up there, we thought we'd get like 50, 60 people show up and wind up with a pool of like 10 good zombies. We had 800 people show up to be zombies and working really hard at it. They had practiced, they had brought their own costumes and stuff.
They had this huge auditorium, and they put numbers on people as if they were in a marathon race. And so then the team of the producers were there making notes about who would be the A zombies, who would be the background zombies, because, you know, not all zombies are created equal.
Our great casting director, Nike Amoru, and extras casting, Jennifer Gatz, set up this great process where they had production assistant on one side of the stage and another one on the other side of the stage, and they would have one of the production assistants shake a rattle, and all the zombies were supposed to move toward that side. And when the production assistant on the other side, it was a drum or something like that, they were supposed to run. So we were looking at fast zombies and slow zombies.
Our mission at Z Nation is to put the fun back in zombies, and I hope that people take the show in the manner it was made and the tone it was made, just having fun with it, and, you know, are the zombie show that says, yes, we have fast zombies. Yes, we have flaming zombies. Yes, we have baby zombies. Whatever it takes to keep the audience entertained and engaged and getting what they want out of the zombie apocalypse.
So, Steve, how much time had you spent in Spokane, Washington prior to this show?
I had never been to Spokane. In fact, had only been on the west side of Washington, so I'd only been to Seattle. What an amazing place. And I know Jody told the story of kind of how we found that, and I think Merchant told the backstory on that. But you know, we were looking for an incentive state. We called Oregon, and they said, "Oh, we're out of money, but maybe try these guys." Unbeknownst to us, you know, Merchant had talked to the people in Oregon where he lives and said, hey, send them over to my friends at North by Northwest, and sort of, you know, told them, you know, what to expect. But when we went on our first scout, I mean, the show is set, you know, it's a travel show, as you and the fans know, across the U.S. And on our first scout, we saw, you know, things that could double for pretty much anywhere in the country, and that really sealed the deal for us. But spending my summers there for 5 years was a great experience. I love Spokane. I love the people. I love the, you know, all of the outdoor activities, and just it's a great place.
Well, you know, we've had so many different folks on from the show, behind the scenes folks, and what they've said about Spokane and the folks there has all been the same on how much that place and the folks that live there meant to the show. John reminded me, Matt Davidson is actually watching the show. I'm going to go to Hero Zombies, who played multiple roles on every single season. And Matt's been such a proponent of our little talk show since the beginning, and like a super fan and just an awesome guy. So, hey Matt, thanks for being on. Am I still there? Can you guys still hear me? I'm getting in. Great. Hey, so we're gonna do a quick promo. We're gonna step away real quick. Steve, don't go anywhere. If you like what we're doing and you want to continue to follow us on the Zoom, we are here at 5 Pacific. 8 o'clock Eastern time on Fridays. And we have an announcement. We asked folks, who do you want on the show? Now, number one, obviously, was Steve Graham, but number two on the show was either 10K or Warren. Then we had many votes cast. The fans have spoken. And it is this, we've got Khalida. She is going to be on the show October 9th here live in the Zoom. So spread the word, let the fans know if you want to come on board and ask her serious questions like, how is it working with Keith Allen, or how is it working with Russell Hodgkinson? If you want to tell her that she's beautiful and ask her to marry you, those probably will leave those questions to the side. Okay, so, but the Z-Whackers, you guys have been fantastic. October 9th, on Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, Khalida Smith will be here live, and make sure that you spread the word. Yes, she was so good on that show. Jody talked about the casting process a little bit, and when the folks came in the room. And what was your impression of Khalida? If I can bring you all the way back to the beginning, do you remember her coming in the room and when the first time you saw her doing the words for Warren?
I do, because she was Warren. She walked in and owned it, and was. We had seen. I don't think she was the first. We had seen quite a few actors for that, and some very good ones. But Kalita brought a strength to it, but with a vulnerability that was just blew us away, you know. And I don't think I was alone in feeling that. It was one of those where she walked out of the room, we all kind of went, well, they can stop looking, you know. So she did a phenomenal job, and was as much of a leader in the, you know, on set as she was on screen. She was very cared very much about the show and about the people on it, and just, yeah, we, you know, wouldn't have had a show without her, and without all of the leads. They were we really lucked out with Keith and Russ and Anastasia and Michael and Passay, and you know, everybody was just great. It was just really, we really lucked out.
Well, we set up a little bit about Spokane, and I've already promoted us a little bit, that we had this fantastic clip. I was doing a deep dive into the behind the scenes stuff. I found this great clip from local press in Spokane, Washington, one of the local affiliates on set. This is one of the first episodes of season 2, Murphy hopping off the roof of a hotel in downtown Spokane into this huge airbag, and they were on set to capture it. I think, Jody, I think your producing partner is on the screen. I know Carl did a little bit right on the street there, telling about the show. But it just speaks to the spirit of the show and the spirit of Spokane. And John, if you could roll that quickly.
Well, a man jumped off a building in downtown Spokane tonight, but don't worry, he was a zombie. Z Nation now filming a new season in the Lilac City. And new at 11, KXY4's Grace Ditzler has an inside look at the kickoff of season 2 of that popular sci-fi series.
Tonight, a zombie jumped off the Tradewinds Hotel in downtown Spokane. It's part of Z Nation's upcoming season, which the crew promises will be full of exciting stunts like this. The stuntman took the 40-foot fall onto an airbag borrowed from a stunt school in Seattle. In the scene, the zombie is being chased and jumps into a dumpster full of his undead companions. The Z Nation team will be shooting at the hotel all week, working on an extended fight sequence. Show creators say the upcoming season will have more action, more character development, and an exciting guest cast.
I think the show is becoming kind of a fun thing to come do, that people like to come and play a crazy bad guy for a week, and so we're going to be attracting all kinds of really interesting people up here to Spokane.
The new season will premiere in September. The Z Nation crew will be shooting their season throughout the entire summer, so if you're lucky, you may run into another cool stunt like this. Reporting in downtown Spokane, Grace Ditzler, KXLY4 News.
All right, so tell me, I mean, that's such an awesome stunt, and that was such a action-packed episode. And Dan Merchant spoke to the fact that I think you guys shot that one, and then when I did that Mad Max Road one, like the next episode or something. It was a tough start of a season to really kind of throw everybody in the fire. But if you're on set and you have a producer title, Steve, and someone jumping off of a building,
didn't worry about it at all.
Worry about it all?
No, you know, I'm joking, of course, but our stunt coordinator, Alex, oh man, see, I told you that this would happen. Howdy is his name to me because that's his nickname. Terzieff, Alex Terzieff, was not only our stunt coordinator, but was really our de facto safety person. And it happened a lot. We had a lot of stunts. We had a lot of, you know, driving stunts, a lot of things where we had a lot of people running up and down hallways or, you know, on mountain trails carrying knives and things like that. And I'd be my job is to be worried about that stuff and be, you know, and I would look over at him and he'd go, it's all right. You know, and if he said it was all right, I felt okay about everything because he was very careful about that stuff. And so obviously with a high fall, we're worried about, you know, about the weather and about the landing and all of those things. But those guys could not have been more professional and was, you know, completely dialed in, and the stunt came off without a hitch. And that held true for 5 years. And we did some, you know, for a show the size of our budget, we did we punched above our weight. We did some pretty amazing stunts, and did them all safely. So yeah, it's a good question, but when you have a great team, you don't worry about it. And I sound like I'm just a cheerleader for everybody, but really, they were, he and Keith Cox, and their kind of returning stuntmen were amazing.
Yeah. So. Well, the other thing too is I'm so glad I found that clip. It's such a signature stunt of the show, kind of early in its, it's the beginning of second season, and you really do feel it on screen that you guys. I mean, there's no green screen, there's no wires. You guys did it. There's like a line through the air, and as a fan, and I consider myself a fan too, it's super exciting. One of the things that I like about bringing behind the scenes people on is they get to bring some of the stuff that they, their stills and behind the scenes videos and so forth that they recorded on set. And you were nice enough to send us some from earlier seasons. And we've got some stills. John's going to pop them up and kind of tell me what we're looking at in each of these. So the guy on the right is you, and the guy on the left is, no, just kidding.
Yeah, it's actually, I have makeup on it. It works out pretty well. That's Dr. Kurian, a good friend of Jody's, and this was season. All these photos were from earlier seasons. So I don't know if you remember his head ends up in a box, and we tried to bring Donald back, with as a head in a box later in the in later episodes, and I think that got nixed from above. Carl was a big fan of it. But I think they were kind of done with Dr. Kurian.
Well, I got to say, he was a creepy doctor. Who is this and what's happening here?
On the Scouts, Alex Yellen is always game for scrambling up on anything that we find and posing for a picture. So that's our intrepid director of photography. I have no idea what that thing is. We shot in this a hoarder's paradise. Basically, it was a guy that owned the top of a hill, and he collected cars, and at one point was a auto mechanic and just had stuff laying everywhere. So this was on Alex's episode with the Fido zombies. So Dilip Rao and Emilio, who played a scorpion. And this is on Merchant's episode. Gee, see, I should have researched all of this stuff. This is one of our long-term stunt guys whose name I'm blanking on, but he was one of the blaster zombies that Merchant talked about on the road episode. This is from episode 1, and I wanted to include some of this. The baby thing was really a defining piece for us. It was in all the trailers and was really a big deal. And this was, everybody bonding over the actual, there was a real live baby. And then we had an actor with a baby's head in large boxes, and that was intercut. And then there was also an animatronic baby that they were holding in the other. And then a little bit of a McKee digital sweetening with the eyes and stuff like that. I thought the zombie baby was very believable. I thought it really came out great.
And as you said, an early iconic in the show. Speaking of iconic things in the show, the ginormous wheel of cheese.
Right. So this is Jen Derwingson, one of the writers and producers on the show, and I'm doing my best. Hey, I just got to Disneyland grin as a 5-year-old, next to the giant wheel of cheese. What a great, weird thing. And we had a lot of fun with that. That was actually cut out of a huge piece of styrofoam. It still weighed, 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
This is Passé on the episode with all of the, I think that's Matt Davidson. Matt, is that you in the background? I looked for a photo. There's a great photo of me and Matt. We had taken a break and both had to go to the bathroom, and we were in the restroom at the urinals, and I'm standing next to Matt, who's a tall guy anyway, and he's in this giant, Lincoln stovepipe hat. And I need to find that photo, but it's Matt, that's a weird, great memory.
Steve, you find that photo, we'll put it in the end credits.
Good to know.
The thing about that wheel of cheese, if I can back up for 1 second too, that was such an interesting tone of the show. It was such one of those things that became kind of an iconic thing on the how wacky the show could be in the midst of all this sort of, you know, zombie gore and blood that we're used to. You guys will also do something so big and broad as literally a wheel of cheese that becomes a zombie ball.
Yeah, it's completely Carl Schaefer. That's out of the warped, wicked mind of Carl Schaefer.
And what's happening here? Are you directing in this episode, this shot?
Yeah, this was actually my first experience directing on Z Nation. We did during season 2, I think. We did an interactive bit where we built this great weird rig that Yellen wore as a first-person camera, and Carl wrote a little choose your own adventure style multiple choice vignette of finding these zombies in this abandoned building, and trusted me to manage that and to direct it. And we directed each of these little pieces that then had to connect to one another and dovetail programmatically. So it was a lot of fun. It was really cool.
And was that in one of the episodes, Steve, or was that a standalone?
No, it was a standalone promo, which was available online. Yeah, it was online. I don't know what became of it, but it was part of a promotion for the season.
Well, it's funny because Matt Davidson, and I don't know if it was on air or if maybe it was when he and I were chatting, but I think he was Alex Ellen's wearing a helmet, right? A helmet with a camera.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'd heard of that too. So they were reminiscing a little bit about that. It
was a pretty crazy rig. I think I've seen things like that, but this was totally homegrown. Daniel Schaefer, who was also a writer on the show and is an incredible photographer. Some of these photos are by Daniel. I can't remember which ones are which. So let's just say, all the good ones were Daniel's.
Right.
But he consulted on that as well. And it was a baseball, batting helmet with an A7S attached to it. And it worked out great. It was really, really believable that you were, Alex's hands were in the frame and as the protagonist. It was really cool.
So you come onto the show, you're a producer, you start to do some directing. Now, you didn't tell me in the pre-show that you also were a very accomplished actor, and I did a deep dive. I found your acting reel. This must have been on MySpace years ago, and I just wanted to share a little bit from your acting reel with you, Steve, if you don't mind.
I guess I don't.
All right.
Is that him?
Yes. Here's the Murphy now. Yes. Okay, folks, listen up. Orbach, Rayfield, Graham, Anderson. Come with me. De La Garza, Woods, and Woods Jr. Be back out for you next. Come on. All right, now each of you will receive a dose of vaccine. The inoculator will cut a small incision in your upper arm and apply the vaccine. Now, you will experience some nausea, some worse than others. So if you need to vomit, there will be a place to do so. Weapons here. Now, once the nausea passes, proceed to the tent for supplies and instructions.
Do we need to sign anything?
No, that won't be necessary. The vaccine takes care of all that. You'll be happy to do the right thing.
What do we have?
Farmer, electrician, banker, and EMT.
Anderson?
That's me.
Upcycler, drill sergeant?
Can make anything out of nothing.
I've got work for you. Graham, investment banker, Graham. I'm surprised it didn't kill you before the apocalypse. You'll be on latrine duty.
What?
We don't have much need for bankers, Mr. Graham, but we do have latrines.
Of course.
Mr. Murphy, can I get you a chair?
Don't mind me.
You're the Murphy.
Do not address Mr. Murphy unless he addresses you.
That's really not necessary.
With your permission, sir, we need to establish some protocols.
All right, so how did that come about? Did there just happen to be a character named Graham? What's going on, Steve?
Yeah, I was hired for my puking abilities. You spend enough time with people, after the show, they get to see things and they know you have skills. So Yeah, no, that was Jodie's episode, and she wrote me in, and it was a lot of fun. You can see why that's not my I should be producing. I will note that Jodie had written that bit, and then Carl made sure that I was a latrine digger. So that was Carl's little.
Excellent.
Actually, you're gonna dig latrines.
Well, Steve, you seem like a natural.
Bless you.
You did a great job in it. And the thing that I love is I've been doing a deep dive, going back to the beginning of the show and started watching it again. And I'd seen that episode. I watched that episode in season 4. I came on season 4 when I shadowed with or maybe that's 3. That's season 3. When I chatted with Merchant, and I'd seen the episode, but now that I know you and going back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hey. I know that guy. It was just a great little Easter egg for me, and just
a lot of fun.
One moment. So thank you for letting me make fun of it there. You were awesome in that. Hey, so one of the other things you brought along was a bloopers reel that you showed. I believe it's at the end of season 4. Now this was something that you showed a cast and crew for the wrap party. Right. And you did warn me that there was, it was raw and funny for cast and crew. So we went through, kind of pulled some of the pieces out that were good, and we've cut around any of the foul language and stuff. This is a little bit of a cut down. I'm going to play it first. This is from season 4, and then we'll talk about it. John.
Daddy, it's me. I'm looking right into the lens. Sorry. Pink dot.
It's the story of a man named Murphy who was bringing up 3 very lovely girls. All of them had hair of gold, like their father, the youngest one in curl. That's the way they all became the Murphy Bunch, the Murphy Bunch, the Murphy Bunch. That's the way they became the Murphy Bunch.
Negativity is infectious, man. I gotta do it again.
Oh.
One more time.
Yeah.
Hold it. Give him a second. Can't see what I'm doing. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Nope. Okay. Down. And action.
Oh, please.
Do you have a problem with my happiness?
Negativity is infectious, man. I can't talk and do that. Okay, here we go.
All right, you ready?
I want to get this shit.
Okay.
I really want to go home.
Did we find it yet?
I know you.
3, 2, 1.
Mitch in the air, you bloody! What was it?
It was me. He just punctured himself in the...
No, it's not brilliant. Please, don't put us in that basement. No, it's not brilliant. Please, I'm begging you. Don't put us in that basement right there.
Could be Trev.
Cut.
That's cut. Got it? Yelling good for you? All right.
Sure.
Mitch in the air, you bloody wankers!
This here's good old-fashioned stick-up.
Cut.
Yeah, I know. Poor girl. Surface, please.
The elevator knows your name?
Around here, everyone knows my. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to use your Happy Valley rubber head for your steering wheel, okay? 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Wow. I can't.
Wait,
do
when you go
this.
that way, you're saying the steering wheel or bodies?
I'm saying body.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's sorry, Dan. That's okay. Set.
That was the best one, too. And huff and puff, kids. Wow. Hope they're not all going to be that hard to kill. How's that?
Steve, I'm watching you over there smiling away. What we talked a little bit about the show and it being like a family. You know, when you get to the end of a season and you're just running on fumes, what's it like to get everybody back together and just have that release of showing the bloopers to the cast and crew?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, that was produced for the wrap party. You know, we were a small show. We didn't have big soirees, but the production office staff put together a really, really cool party every year, and we would show these bloopers and have some drinks and have some food, and you know, it's like the last day of summer camp. Everybody was like, "I'll remember you forever, man," you know, and then I can't wait to get out of here. But then, you know, you miss everybody in a couple weeks. So it's great to watch those again and remember that, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, hey, thank you so much for sharing that with us. We're getting close to the end of the episode, but I did want to talk about your directing. And in season 4, you directed an episode based on the Clown Posse Juggalos called the Zuggalo, the infamous Zuggalos episode. And we talked a little bit about in the pre-show about this. What do you remember about taking on that episode? And man, that was a complicated episode to take on as your first.
Well, I made the mistake of bringing up how scary clowns were in the writer's room. And then that somehow turned into, somebody brought up the Juggalos, which I didn't know that much about. That's a group that follows the Insane Clown Posse, and how we could set it close to Detroit. And so when it came around for assignment for which episodes we were writing, I don't know if Carl remembered that I brought up the clowns or if he was just punishing me. But it was actually really fun. It was really great. I learned a lot about the Juggalo culture and this character and how our guys would be tested that way and get out of it. And it was a lot of fun. It was really cool.
I'm going to play it first. This is from season 4, and then we'll talk about it.
Clowns?
We're the Zuggalos.
Crazy ass clown!
Let the games begin!
I don't think he means part cheesy.
Woo! And then in season 5, you did an episode called Heartland.
Yep.
And I remember that one because I did a lot of second unit work on that, and also
in a wheat field.
It was like 1,000,000 degrees. That, I mean, not that we did, we cooled it down for the Junkyard episode, but man, you had some hot days. Tell me a little bit about that episode. You also wrote it, and I believe, and what's your best memory from that one?
I think, and I keep bringing up the team that we had, but the challenge there, the biggest challenge was we were all on location. It was at this wheat farm in Sprague, I believe. And great, the people there were amazing and let us kind of have the run of the place, and it was beautiful. It was hot, but it was beautiful and a great setting for this story. However, I'd written the script, but the way that script fits into the overall arc of things, Carl rewrote a big chunk of it to make it all fit. And we didn't get the pages, the final script pages, until after we were shooting. So for the first couple of days I was shooting on a script that I knew was going to change. And then we were literally getting pages at, 2 in the morning that we were going to be shooting starting at, 7 or 8. And it's really a testament to Esther Johnson and Alex Yellen. It was about an hour to set, and we would get the pages, the fresh pages from Carl, and we would be reading those pages and readjusting our plan as we went, in the van on the way to set.
Wow.
But I thought it worked great. It really, at that point, after 5 seasons, the cast all know their characters so well, and they're helping you with that. The whole, everybody is there to support you, and I couldn't have had a better, director experience. It was really, really nice. And we had a guest star, Ben Whitehead, came in. He was a friend of Anastasia's. They had great chemistry, and that showed on screen, and I got to play with them a little bit. And then a great find, there was a guy who's who's scooping, not spoiler alert, but scooping out his brain and feeding it to the zombies as time goes by. And so each scoop, he's getting a little, he's having a little harder time staying awake. And that guy, David Brown King, was amazing and really brought it in. What I remember is pulling this show out really by the skin of our teeth, and I was super proud of the way it came out and the story that we were able to tell. It was fun.
Well, there's no better setup than that, Steve. Here's a promo for season 5, episode 8, Heartland.
Hey, grape smuckers.
What could go wrong?
Looks like somebody wants to play cowboy.
Damn it, hold still. It's for your own good.
Let's send him a stampede.
Well done, Steve. That was Lydia Hurst out there playing Pandora. What a great character she brought to season 5 in her arc.
Yeah, she turned out to be just wonderful to work with and a great person and great and scary on screen. I didn't get to do as much with her in that episode. She was kind of a lurker and just in that, but she did it. She was super scary and was great. It was really cool. And I was remembering Nat and Russ really had did a great job with the whole cowboy bit, and that was a lot of fun too.
Well, I can tell you that I spent a lot of time on second unit doing some of the Lydia Hurst fight. Right. So I had a great time on your episode. It was fantastic. And you mentioned Anastasia and Brian, lived in with Brian, the guest star played Finn for that.
Finn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and here's a little scene from that episode that you directed.
Cool.
I should kill you right now.
Put me out of my misery.
Or I could make you wish you were dead.
What do you want me to do?
Unbutton your shirt.
Seriously? Okay. Okay.
More?
All right. All right. Now what?
Kiss me.
Thought you never asked on dance.
Finn, you bastard! You stood me up!
I know!
I waited 2 days for you. I thought you were dead!
You know how it is. Zombies.
At least you're alive.
Yeah. But I don't know for how long.
What do you mean? What happened?
Someone shot me.
Finn?
Well, hey, Steve, for an episode that you guys kind of pulled together by the skin of your teeth, I knew that the pages weren't being printed in the production office, but had no idea that you were setting up as you drove to set. It's a great episode for that season, my friend. It's a really strong episode, and I think it's a good one for us to end on. But before we go, I know you're at home working on projects of the future. What's next for you? What do you have going on?
I know we're late, but I wanted to say one thing about that. I think that scene and this episode actually were a really good example of what Z Nation's able to do. And that's Carl's vision for it is it's this crazy. I mean, the Juggalo episode was nuts and all of this. But then we would take an episode and we would really focus on really personal stories and really, tell these human stories on this canvas in the context of this crazy world that they were living in, which seems a little less crazy now than not so far from reality. But anyway, watching that and Katie O'Brien had a great arc in that episode, and so it's cool. What a great show to work on. A lot of fun where they Carl has created this world where we get to study those interactions, but kill zombies too. So I'm in New Mexico. I'm working on projects. I'm line producing a horror film in October. My daughter just made a short and helped her with that. And I produced found an artist here in Santa Fe when I moved. Devin Ludlow Hawks made a show called The Love That Would Not Die, which was a zombie puppet musical, which kind of turned into a punk musical. So I helped him with the 3rd episode of that. And so it's hard to get away from zombies. And then have a couple of things in development. So we're working on, there's a project that Jody wrote called Sib Trip that we're working on, and a project called The Penny, which my company optioned, and we're going to shoot in New Mexico in 2021. So it's been busy.
Fantastic. Well, Steve, hey, seriously, thank you so much for coming on to our little show and making this happen today.
It's totally fun.
It's such a great time for me to do it, to revisit all the folks that I worked with that brief time that I was on for season 5, and I found that I am definitely a fan of the show as well, and I'll go back to that. I just love the passion and energy that people put into the show and make it what it is. And I think that's a good note for me to talk about, I don't know, October 9th. You guys asked for it. We went out and we found it. She was, 10K and Warren, we're neck and neck. If you love what we're doing here and you want to come back, spread the word. We're on the Zoom, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, same Zoom channel and time. Kalita Smith is going to be here live at 5 o'clock. You can ask her all those things that you want to know about what it was like to play Lieutenant Roberta Warren. My name is Peter Bassler. My guest is Steve Graham. Thank you so much, Steve, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. I will see you at the after party, my friend. Good night, everybody. This has been Talking Zed.